So if you're in the AI space, you've definitely heard about the EU AI Act. But here's the thing. If you're thinking of it as a single D-Day, where a switch just flips, you're going to want to rethink that. The reality is actually a super carefully planned multi-year rollout, and it's already started.
Honestly, the best way to wrap your head around this massive regulation isn't as a sudden event, but as a countdown. It's a series of deadlines, each one targeting a different piece of the AI puzzle, and it's all designed to give the industry time to get its act together. And that clock, oh, it is ticking.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the big picture, that phased rollout I mentioned. Then we'll dive into each major deadline, the stuff that's getting banned right away, the new rules for foundational models, the super complex world of high-risk AI, and finally, the rules for AI that's embedded in other products. And we'll wrap up by looking at the very real challenges companies are facing on the road ahead. All right, first up, let's talk about the big picture, this whole staggered approach. The EU was really smart about this. They designed the act to roll out in stages, so they could tackle the biggest, most urgent risks first. And this timeline, it lays out the whole journey perfectly. You can see it all starts just 6 months in, with a flat-out ban on what they call prohibited AI. A year in, the rules for general-purpose AI kick in. Then, things get serious, with 2 big deadlines for high-risk systems at the 24 and 36-month marks. This covers everything from an AI that helps with hiring to one that's inside a medical device. Let's break each of these down. Okay, let's tackle that first deadline head-on, because it's the most urgent one. In just 6 months, a whole category of AI practices that are considered an unacceptable risk will be completely illegal in the EU. So what's the big idea here? This first wave is all about targeting AI that just fundamentally clashes with EU values. We're talking about banning AI that uses sneaky, manipulative tricks to make you do things you wouldn't normally do, or systems that prey on vulnerable people. It also completely outlaws social scoring. Doesn't matter if it's the government or a private company. And, a huge one, it puts extreme limits on real-time facial recognition in public by the police, only allowing it in a few very specific, pre-approved emergencies. All right, next up on our countdown, we hit the 1-year mark. And this is when the rules get very, very real for the creators of those huge models that are powering pretty much everything these days. This is all about what the Act calls General Purpose AI, or GPA for short. So what on earth is a GPA model? Well, think of it this way. It's not an AI designed for just one little thing, like filtering your spam emails. No, these are the big foundational models, like the ones you see from OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, the kind of models that can be adapted and built upon to create thousands of other applications. They're the building blocks. So what are these companies actually on the hook for? Well, at the 12-month mark, they've got some major homework. They have to provide clear technical documents for developers, create a policy around respecting EU copyright law, and, this is a biggie, they have to publish a detailed summary of all the content they used to train their models. And for the most powerful models out there, the ones with systemic risk, the rules get even tougher, requiring things like advanced security measures and adversarial testing. Okay, let's fast forward to the 24-month deadline. This is where we get into the real meat of the regulation, because it starts to cover a huge range of AI applications that are labeled high risk. And this is the core of the whole thing, really. It's about AI systems where, if they mess up, it could seriously impact someone's safety, their rights, or their opportunities in life. Now, this is where a lot of people get tripped up, so let's clear this up. There are actually 2 different timelines for high-risk AI. The first one, at 24 months, is for standalone AI systems in critical areas. Things like AI used in hiring, for credit scores, or for school admissions. The second timeline, which is way out at 36 months, applies to AI that's a safety component inside a product that's already regulated, like a car or a medical device. So bottom line, by year 2, if your organization is using AI to make critical decisions about people's lives, like whether someone gets a job, a loan, or access to essential services, you're going to have to be fully compliant with some pretty demanding rules about risk management, data, and human oversight. Okay, so that covers AI systems that kind of stand on their own. But what about AI that's buried deep inside other products? Well, that brings us to the final major milestone in our countdown, the 36-month deadline. And the logic here actually makes a ton of sense. Products like cars, toys, and medical devices already have their own incredibly detailed safety regulations. So the Act gives those manufacturers an extra year, a full 36 months, to figure out how to weave these new AI-specific safety rules into the compliance work they're already doing. Okay, so we've got the timeline down, the deadlines are set. But knowing the dates is the easy part, right? actually meeting them, that's a whole other story. The road ahead is pretty bumpy, with a lot of practical challenges and gray areas that companies are trying to navigate right now. And this right here, this is the million-euro question that's keeping a lot of developers up at night. Say you take an existing AI model and you fine-tune it for your own specific purpose. At what point does your tweaking count as a substantial modification, making you the provider and sticking you with all the compliance paperwork? This uncertainty is a massive headache. The term substantial modification is, well, pretty vague in the official text. And get this, the rules for GPAI models kick in around August 2025, but the official technical standards, the documents that tell you exactly how to comply, they won't be ready until 2026 at the earliest. It's a classic case of having to follow a law before the instruction manual is even written. So to try and help, the EU's AI office threw everyone a bone with a proposed guideline. They're saying that if your fine-tuning uses at least a third of the computing power that it took to train the original model, it probably counts as substantial. But even they admit it's not a perfect system. It's hard to measure, and sometimes a tiny change that uses very little compute can still massively change a model's risk profile. But look, it's not all panic and chaos. The good news is that for most companies, just modifying existing models, the burden should be pretty manageable. As long as you're not creating some new super powerful model with systemic risk, your main job is to just document what you did, which, let's be honest, is just good practice anyway. So, there you have it, the EU's 3-year plan, this cascading series of deadlines designed to bring some order to the Wild West of AI. But the biggest takeaway here isn't just about complying in Europe. The real question is, did the EU just write the rulebook for the rest of the planet? Will this risk-based, phased-in approach become the new global standard? We'll have to wait and see.